Hello, my name is Chantel Clausen, and today we're going to talk about massive open online courses, otherwise known as Moocs. The first thing we're going to talk about is what is a Mooc? And we're going to do this by looking at two different definitions just to get a better understanding of how Moocs are defined. The first, by Melcham Hurry Battere, states Moocs represents open access, global, free, video-based instructional content, videos, problem sets, and forums released through an online platform to high-volume participants aiming to take a course or to be educated. The second definition is a Mooc is an online course aimed at large-scale interactive participation and open access via the web. In addition to traditional course materials such as videos, readings, and problem sets, Moocs provide interactive user forums that help build a community for students, professors, and teaching assistants. Moocs are recent development in distance education. Next, we're going to be talking about the characteristics of Moocs. Now, there are three main characteristics of Moocs: that they are open, that they are participatory, and that they are distributed. And we're going to watch a short video clip about 4 minutes in length that will explain these characteristics in detail. This is just a brief video about 4 minutes in length that kind of looks into what Moocs were intended to be when they were created. So this video was produced in 2010. I found it on YouTube. It kind of just explains the original intent to Moocs.
The massive open online course is a response to the challenges faced by organizations and distributed disciplines in a time of information overload. It used to be that when you wanted to know about something, you could do a few things. You could ask someone, you could buy a book, you could try to figure it out for yourself, or you could call a school. If that school offered the course and the thing you were trying to figure out, you could go there and take it. You could get access to information about a topic. An instructor had combed through journals and books to pull the information together from a library. You might even find others who are also interested in the same things that you are. The Mooc is built for a world where information is everywhere, where a social network obsessed with the same thing that you are is a click away, a digital world. A world where an internet connection gives you access to a staggering amount of information. This video will introduce you to how a massive open online course is one way of learning in a networked world. A Mooc is a course, it's open, it's participatory, it's distributed, and it supports lifelong networked learning. In one sense, a massive open online course is just that. It's a course. It has facilitators and course materials, it has a start and an end date, it has participants. But a Mooc is not a school. It's not just an online course. It's a way to connect and collaborate while developing digital skills. It's a way of engaging in the learning process that engages what it means to be a student. It is, maybe most importantly, an event around which people who care about a topic can get together and work and talk about it in a structured way. The course is open. All of the work gets done in areas accessible for people to read and reflect and comment on. The course is open in the sense that you can go ahead and take the course without paying for it. You might pay to get the credit through an institution, but you're not paying for participating in the course. It's also open in the sense that the work done in the course is shared between all the people taking it. The material put together by the facilitators, the work done by the participants, it's all negotiated in the open. You get to keep your work, and everybody else gets to learn from it. The course is participatory. You really become part of the course by engaging with other people's work. Participants are not asked to complete specific assignments, but rather to engage with the material, with each other, and with other material they may find on the web. You make connections between ideas and between you and other people. You network. One of the outcomes that people get from the course are the network connections they've built up through engaging with each other. The course is distributed. And all these blog posts and discussion posts, video responses, articles, tweets, and tags all knit together to create a networked course. They're mostly not found in one central location, but rather all over the internet in different pockets and clusters. There's no right way to do the course, no single path from the first week to the last. This allows for new ideas to develop and for different points of views to coexist. It also means that one of the side effects of a MOOC is the building of a distributed knowledge base on the net. The course is a step on the road to lifelong learning. MOOCs promote independence among learners and encourages participants to work in their own spaces and to create authentic networks that they can easily maintain after the course finishes. A MOOC can promote the kind of network creation that lifelong learning is all about. The course part is just the beginning. And how can you go about finding one of these? Well, news that a MOOC will be offered usually spreads on online networks. People who have reputations for interesting skills or innovative thinking on a topic decide to collaborate by offering an open online course covering that topic. Anyone who wants to join in can. In a MOOC, you can choose what you do, how you participate, and only you can tell in the end if you've been successful, just like real life.
Now we are going to look at a brief history of MOOCs. So I really like this infographic because it shows kind of all the important dates that we're going to discuss in one place. The first date we're going to discuss is 2008 because that's when MOOCs became a thing. Then we're going to discuss 2012, which is also known as the year of the MOOC, and we're going to talk about why it's called the year of the MOOC. And then we're going to look at 2013, which is called the year of the anti-MOOC. And then we're also going to look how MOOCs are slowly gaining popularity. To begin with, when discussing a brief history of MOOCs, the term MOOC was first coined by Dave Cormier in 2008 to describe connectivist learning on networks. Dave Cormier, by the way, is the gentleman who was narrating the video you watched just a little while ago. Also in 2008, the first connectivist MOOC was facilitated by George Siemens and Stephen Downes. And in 2011, MOOC saw a dramatic rise in popularity with Sebastian Thurn's Artificial Intelligence MOOC. His MOOC attracted approximately 160K users representing 190 different countries. Next, we come to 2012, which is sometimes referred to as the year of MOOCs and sometimes referred to as the tsunami. In short, this is the year when MOOCs really took off. That a lot of them were developed, that more users were using them, that MOOCs basically became, the it technology. I really liked a quote by Daphne Kohler, who is not only the co-founder of Coursera, which is one of the MOOCs we'll be discussing later, but she's also a professor of computer science at Stanford University. And she stated at the time, "The tsunami is coming whether we like it or not. You can be crushed or you can surf, and it is better to surf." And what I really appreciate about this quote is not only can it be applied to MOOCs, which is what she was applying it to, but I think it can be applied to any new technology that comes out, particularly in education, because it does feel like technology comes in waves and there's always a new wave hitting you as an educator, and you have the decision that you are either going to be crushed and overwhelmed with all the new technology, or you are going to surf and try out the new technology and see if it works and if it helps your students. So in 2012, some commentators and users of MOOCs began questioning, are MOOCs adding to intellectual development, or is this just a new fun technology trend? And so, for example, in research trends and massive open online courses, thesis and dissertations, Surfing the Tsunami Wave, the authors state, being such a new phenomenon, one must wonder if all this hype is generated from their substantial contribution to intellectual development, or if it's a result of a promise of new emerging technologies. So while reading this, it really made me kind of look back at my own teaching career and think about how, when I first started, or even when I was kind of in high school, college, Smart boards were coming out and they were the new technology and everyone had to have one and they're relatively expensive. And for a lot of teachers, it was just a thing they had. It was basically, you know, a glorified chalkboard. Okay. They weren't really using all the technical aspects of it because they're afraid to try it out or they didn't want to use those aspects. But a lot of research now has come out and said, while interactive whiteboards are fun, they are not always appropriate for all age groups. And for some age groups and some instructors, they become more of a toy than an instructional tool. And if it's more of a toy than a tool, why are we using it? And so I think in 2012, like with all technology, commentators begin to question, are Moocs toys or are they a tool? Is this just a flash in the pan, something that's temporary? Or is this something that's long term going to impact education? When looking at Moocs objectives, the main objective, I think, can be best said by E.J. Emanuel. And he said this in his article, Online Education, Moocs Taken by Educated Few, which basically states that Moocs are reaching the overarching goal to override borders, race, gender, class, and income across the globe. And we will be talking about this more in depth as we continue through the presentation. Now we are going to look at Moocs in education. So in the beginning, Moocs were free. Now some courses are free, but for the most part, certificates and degrees cost money. Sometimes tests cost money. It just kind of depends on the different platform you are using. However, since several Moocs partner with universities, courses are taught by trained and experienced professors from some of the nation's top universities. And something I want you to think of as we go through this presentation is a trend that was concerning when Moocs came into play in 2008 and has continued to be a concern is the question, will Moocs take over higher education? So if users can go online, at the time it was free, but now even if they're paying and they can get certificates and degrees for much cheaper than they can get a degree through a college or university, which one will they choose? Will this mean an end for higher education as we know it? The first Mooc we're going to look at is edX. edX is a Mooc formed by both Harvard University and MIT. They are the last significant Mooc platform to offer graded assignments for free, but they also offer professional education for a couple $100s. If you would like to check out their website, you can just click on the picture right here and it will lead you directly to their site so you can look around and kind of see what their Mooc looks like and what they have to offer. I also wanted to include some examples of the different courses offered by the different Moocs, just so you could get an idea of the variety that each offer, and kind of some specialize in certain courses, so it's just kind of nice to know. For edX, some examples are The Science of Happiness by UC Berkeley, Resume Networking and Interview Skills by Fullbridge, Contract Law from Trust to Promise to Contract, Harvard. The next Mooc is called Coursera. And Coursera has different payment models depending on the type of courses participants choose. There are specialization courses that are on a monthly subscription. And some courses also have an audit option. So if you would like to check out their main page, you can go ahead and click on the link, which is just the picture on this slide. Some examples of courses offered by Coursera include The Introduction to Who Wrote Shakespeare by the University of London, The Science of Well-Being by Yale, and How to Apply to College by the University of Pennsylvania. Then the next Mooc is FutureLearn. FutureLearn is a UK-based Mooc that has never been free, which makes it a little bit different than all the other Moocs we've previously discussed. FutureLearn has some courses that can be looked at for free, but after a prescribed amount of time, a pricing model kicks in and you have to pay in order to view and use content. Here are some examples from FutureLearn, including Introduction to Chinese Conversation. It starts with your heart, understanding heart disease and circulatory diseases, exploring our ocean, and exercise prescription for the prevention and treatment of diseases. And the final MOOC we'll talk about today is called Udacity. Now, Udacity is different because it never partnered with any universities, but rather different tech companies. Udacity offers what they call nano degrees that are free to take, but users can only get certificates if they pay for them. You can click on the picture below to check out Udacity. Now, while looking at some example courses for Udacity, you can really see why they decided to partner with tech companies versus institutions of higher learning, because most of their courses deal with tech. So, for example, data analysis, digital marketing, Android developer, machine learning engineer, cloud developer nano degree. So when you discuss MOOCs in technical fields, it's a little bit controversial because most MOOCs are more inclined to both support and be supported by institutes of higher learning. And so I did find this very nice graphic from Forbes.com that kind of discussed things about MOOCs that would need to be adjusted or changed in order for more technical fields to get involved. So things like providing more workplace type offering, providing less academic offerings, including some type of gamification of content, are just a few of the things that MOOCs need to be adapted to in order for more technical fields to get on board. Next, we're going to talk about the educational benefits and downsides. So to begin with, the benefits. The first is there's easy access for the masses. Once again, if you have a computer and an internet connection, you have access. You don't have to go anywhere necessarily. At one time it was free, which was a huge benefit, and now it tends to be more economically sound, if you will, than it would be to take a college credit. And there's access to a wide variety of subjects from many prestigious universities, not only in the country, but from around the world. So you might be able to hear a lecturer or hear lectures from a particular university that you wouldn't have the opportunity to attend normally. And you are also exposed to new cultures, new ideas, and new people. Now we're going to discuss the downsides of MOOCs. So first we're going to look at this from the educator's viewpoint. And there are three main downsides. And the first is, are MOOCs increasing gaps in access to education? So if you remember from before, we talked about the main objective of MOOCs was to close these gaps. Now that a lot of research has been done on MOOCs, people are beginning to question, are they closing these gaps or are they making them wider? So for example, researchers Hollins and Turtahali in 2014 state that data from MOOC platforms indicate that MOOCs are providing educational opportunities to millions of individuals across the world. However, most MOOC participants are already well educated and employed, and only a small fraction of them fully engages with the courses. Overall, the evidence suggests that MOOCs are currently falling short of democratizing education and may, for now, be doing more to increase gaps to access and education than to diminish them. This information, or this quote, is backed up by a 2013 survey by the University of Pennsylvania that specifically looked at 32 course sessions of Coursera and looked at a large number of responses, 34,799. The survey findings showed that 83% of survey participants already had 2-year to 4-year degrees. Out of that number, 44.2% already had a bachelor's degree. In fact, most participants were well-educated individuals that were already from the top economic spheres of their countries. I find this data particularly interesting because it looks at data from all over the globe and not just a single region or culture. Educators also view the downside is that there are high dropout rates, about 3% complete Moocs courses in their entirety. And next, also lots of Moocs have very few active participants and many lurkers, so people who are just watching, and passive participants, so people who start the course strong and then somewhere along the line drop out. Students' viewpoints, when they were surveyed, they listed some other downsides. So they were concerned about the quality of information received from Moocs versus traditional college classes. Was it accurate? Did it go in depth enough? Were they getting essentially the same type of product, if you will? The second viewpoint or concern is the lack of accreditation. Just because earning credits from a university is a standard that has been set forth for a significant period of time. And so when you take your transcript and your degree and you apply for a job, that's generally accepted that you have some knowledge base of the skill. Versus a lot of them stated, if you have just a certificate from an online course, not all employers look at that as valid. And finally, students listed that they believe the low completion rates for Moocs may be due to students feeling as if they are an island. Because Moocs are, student led, a lot of them had a hard time getting hold of instructors to get questions answered. So they felt like they were just all by themselves on an island rather than connected, which I thought was really interesting because it kind of goes against what Moocs were set up to be like. Now we're going to look at research trends. So one of the current trends is that even though growth has slowed down, Moocs have seen an increase in participants who pay, and they're also seeing more Moocs who offer more degrees. So this goes back to the trend we talked about at the very beginning, where commentators were afraid that, Moocs might challenge higher education or change what higher education looks like. And I must say, if more degrees are being offered through Moocs and they are cheaper, that could challenge higher education. Most definitely cost, because people are going to go where cost is cheap. The next trend that they're looking for in the future is that Moot courses will become shorter and more flexible. I think this has to do partially with kind of trying to reach the tech fields, because that was a concern they listed. So making them shorter. They're obviously not going to be the same length as a university course, which is like a semester. A lot of them are like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, significantly shorter. And a lot of them are self-paced to make them more flexible for the learner. Next, and this was listed as a future trend, even though it kind of is a current trend as well, are revenue opportunities. So courses are costing money. These platforms are bringing in revenue, whereas before it was free. Another trend is more organizational support. So I think this comes from the creators of Moocs hearing back from students that a downside is that they don't feel like they're really supported while using Moocs. And so they need things like instructors or to be able to contact someone to get additional assistance when they run into trouble. The first higher order thinking question is, how would you improve Moocs? And the second question is, discuss the pros and cons of Moocs moving from a free system to a cost-based system. And you could look at this a couple different ways. You could respond to this as an educator. You could respond to this from the platform's viewpoints. So what does edX think about this? And you could also respond to this from the student's viewpoint, or all three, and compare and contrast. And just in case you're interested, here are my references that I used.